So the first stanza that we looked at last week was a stanza all about chesed. All about chesed, the midah of chesed. We learned about gedulas yimincha. This chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that doesn't just send down shefa into our kelim, but is such a deep chesed. We learned about Yemin Hashem Remeima, right? This elevated chesed of Hashem that's so incredibly great that the end of the pasuk says Yemin Hashem Oisa Chayil. It's such a great chesed that it doesn't just give us shefa into our kelim, it actually goes down into the kelim and expands them, gives us new kelim, bigger kelim, and then is mashpia into it. So when you have a series of 7, so it seems pretty obvious, right, that these 7 are going to correspond to the 7 midas, right? The 7 days of the week, 7 spheres, like we had learned. The first of which is chesed, which is why the first stanza is all about chesed, and the second stanza is obviously going to be the midah of gevura, right, which is the second midah, and the third will be tiferes, which we'll get to next week, and so on. Be'ezus Hashem. So this week, stanza number 2. Hey, Legarnchel, thanks for joining. We're taking a look at the midah of gevura. And because, like we had discussed, the whole entire Anabakoyach is really about gevura, so this stanza is like Ki'ilu gevura shebe gevura, right? And so we said last week was chesed, right? It was all about chesed. This stanza, because it's the second in a set of 7, is going to be all about gevura. And the whole tefillah, we said, is the energy of gevura. So this is, in a certain way, like mamish, the pinnacle of the pinnacle, the essence of this tefillah. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, so let's jump into it. Says the Heilige Rav Kook, Schusi Aganaleinu Kabel Rinnas Amcha. The second stanza we daven Kabel Rinnas Amcha. Please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, accept the song of your nation. We're going to learn a lot about song tonight. Sagvenu, elevate us. Taharenu, purify us. Noira, we refer to Hashem as the awesome one, the awe-inspiring one. Noira, Miloshen Yira. So the tzaddik says like this: Hapanim hanishmati shel Knesset Yisrael. The spiritual face of Knesset Yisrael, which is the collectivity of the Jewish nation. It's the soul that all of us are splintered sparks from, but it's just the essence of this spirit called Yisrael. It's absolutely unique in the greatness of its holiness. And he says sometimes the external appearance of an individual Jew or a community of Jews, chas v'shalom, can cover over, can hide, can conceal the spiritual beauty. You can't see it. It doesn't manifest. Until the pe'er, until this holy splendor, einenu nira, we can't see it with our eyes. Hine harina hakadosha, says Rav Kook, such a beautiful piece. Holy song. Hava'as hakadusha, an expression of holiness. Bisafa brura, with clear terminology, clear expression. B'ni'ima unigina, with pleasantness and melody. Musikalit, music. Chayderes hi, that experience of singing in a holy way. We're going to learn about this more in the next piece. Chayderes hi, it penetrates. Umachshefes es hayofi hatar hapnimi, and it draws out the yofi hatar hapnimi, the beautiful inner purity. Umizgalet chunasa kedosha shel nishmas ha'uma, and it is the special kind of tool, this concept of rina, where it's able to go into that place beyond the surface, and it's able to cause the essence to manifest. This essential holiness of nishmas ha'uma, the soul of our nation. Hashruya, which generally rests b'teichiyusai shel kol yachid v'yachid miyichidei baneha, within the internality of each and every individual. It's just we all share this one holy soul. And it gets covered over because of our actions and because of different challenges that we have personally, but all of us have it. So what brings it out? What draws it out? Says Rav Kook, Rina. Holy music. Nigunim, Nigina de Kedusha. B'kalil gvane oreseha hamashiru. And causes the collective, like rainbow, of our inner lights, this prism of holy illumination that we have inside, because we share in this great collective soul of the Jewish people. Rina, holy song, causes it to shine. Areseh hamashirim, and its lights are able to shine once again. So, based on what we had talked about the first time when we spoke about the general concept of the Shem Mem Beis, which is the Shem of Gevura in relation, Klape, in contrast, like we said, to the Shem Ayin Beis, which is the Shem of Kriyas Yamsuf, which is all about boundary shattering. Chesed, but Gevura generally is the Kalim. And we learned that Gevura isn't just the concept of din, meaning the illustration, I'm using that word, the shiur, the actualization of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's desire for a limited world or a world of physical limitations. We talked about the directions, Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Vav, like we learned the 6 directions. It isn't just that it maintains the Kalim, but because it's expressed in the element of fire, like we learned, it's an energy pulsating within the limits of creation to push it up, to compel it up, to be able to help the Kalim reach their potential, meaning why there are Kalim and why there is a created world, for what purpose? To propel it toward a loftier place, toward an elevated place, toward a place where it is ra'oi now to receive the shefa of chesed, both in its classical sense, where the chesed comes down into those kelim, or like we learned last week, where the chesed is able to assist the gevura, and so to speak, they hold hands and they work together in tandem. But the general midah of gevura is in such a way where it goes into the kelim, thanks for coming, and it pushes out the pneumius to rectify the kelim. Like we learned, this the second bracha in Shemana Esrei is all about Hashem's interaction, so to speak, with the level, with the layer of the kelim, Reifei Cholim, Matir Asurim, and so on and so forth. It's to rectify the ravad, the layer of the kelim. That's what we learned about Gevura. Serena, this kind of music that we're going to learn in a minute, is deeply, deeply connected to the midah of Gevura. Rinnas is the realm of the Levium. The Levium klape, the Kohanim, are Gevura klape Chesed. The Kohanim are Chesed Elyon. The Levium are Gevura, and of course Yaakov, Yisrael, is Tiferes. So the Levium's whole thing is Gevura. Dafka, they're the gatekeepers as well, which is bound up with this, because they rectify the Kalim, the gates, right, which is the external level, klape, the inside, right, and that's the job of the Levi, is to rectify the external perimeter. The Levium are all about Nigina de Kedusha, because a nigun enables that which is inside to push itself forth, to come to the surface, just like fire seeks to take the potential fuel in the wick and to bring it up and to bring it out. That's the inyan of Levium, and that's the inyan of Gevura. And that's why in the second stanza, which is connected to the midah of Gevura, we're going to learn now about Rina, about song. Let's take a look at the second source over here from this incredible sefer, Ana B'Koyach Tal Lechaim. So, in the previous sentence, which was on another page, I didn't want to take that also, he explains what I just spoke out about the Levium and their connection to Gevura, and then he continues, Kach HaMaharal Malamed, the Heilige Maharal teaches Sha'ashira hi mitzad midas ha'Gevura. The concept of song is bound up with the midah of Gevura. He says, L'chayra, it's not clear. Thanks for coming. It's not so clear, he says. The whole thing of shira, of song, is all about what? It's all about happiness. It's all about joy. When does a person sing? They get together and there's a good atmosphere. There's a good energy. There's a good vibe. Generally speaking. Thank you so much for coming. We have an extra source sheet right here. Generally, you'd think that shira is connected to chesed. You'd think song is connected to love. You'd think song is connected to expansivity. Not to gevura. What's the connection between gevura and singing? Emes, but the truth is, like we just explained outside, hashira, what music does, hitnua, it's an energetic movement, shel gilui ubitui b'chitzayni estafka. It's a tool that enables that which is inside to come to revelation outside. And that, like we learned, is the energy of gevura, fire. Is to take the wick, which has the potential to fuel, even though when we look at it, it doesn't look like much, and it draws it out, like we learned, pushing upward, dancing upward, an energy of compelling as opposed to drawing, which is going to be the concept of chesed, which is water, which flows naturally from a high place, drawing it down to a low place. Fire is the energy of pushing. Sha'ada margish aru bracha b'seich levavai. When a person feels light and blessing and just everything is okay, like contentment, so then you're experiencing chesed inside. When you experience that expansive feeling, like just everything's light and everything's okay. But when a person is moved by song, moved by an atmosphere aided by Nigina de Kedusha, by holy music, by holy song. I'm not talking about stam like a good time. We're talking about the avoida of Nigina, like we try to do here, as is Hashem. It's not just that the joy is inside. That's chesed, that's fine. But when a person is mamish singing properly, what happens? It takes the simcha on the inside and it draws it out to the outside. All of a sudden, you can see on the person in the hand movements, in the physical movements, in the expressions, what happened? It revealed the emotions that he had inside. It brought them out to the level of the kalim, which we call the guf, in terms of our personal experience. And it shows up in his body and his limbs. And he sings and he dances. Which is the midah of gvura. Song is the energy that takes what's inside and it brings it out to the outside. That's why singing has everything to do, even though it's counterintuitive, because you'd think that singing is mamash chesed. No, it's the midah of gevura. It's the midah of gevura, and this is the inyan of the Levium, that the whole thing of the Levium is song. Levium being the midah of gevura. And he says very deeply, simcha itself is crazily enough, it's difficult to understand, is actually connected to the sad small, to the left, side ha-gevuras, which is usually related to gevura kanoida. Without getting into this now, shesimchi b'chinas bina, shekena simchi tnua shel gilui v'yitzia chutza. It's the same thing. Even general simcha, even without its expression in singing, does the same thing. It takes what's inside, brings it to the outside. Shemisha sameach, because the person that's joyous in yoshev safam bebesav ispaydudus penimis, he's not sitting, alone in his dining room by himself. Elana chutza. Simcha takes a person and what? Causes him to want to go out, want to get together with people. When a person's in a state of sadness, a depressive state, doesn't want to be around anybody, stays inside. Simcha is a gvura. But not like a, we have to change the way we think of a gvura. It's not like din. It's just forward-moving energy, being propelled outside, being propelled to manifest, to show up. To dance and to be joyous with good friends. You're saying as opposed to shiur? So generally it's dafka rina that's connected to gevura. Yeah, but here he says shiur also. But generally
shiur equals simcha. Not always shiur simcha.
Right.
Shiur maybe is not all.
Right, not all shiur simcha. We're about to see. Actually, he happens to have been speaking, more generally speaking, about the expression of what we're feeling inside. On the outside, that would be the tenu of gevura, and it's more easy to say, that when a person's happy, so then you see that they're moving. But take a look at this paragraph now, where Yidavka talks not so much about simcha. He talks about something else.
It does have certain rules to it, which is in a way more akin to
gevura. Absolutely.
Otherwise, you have sort of
absolutely. It's chaos. It's not musicality is a science. Mamash is science, which is a strange thing, because non-scientific people are often the artsy types, but really art and music really overlap. I'm sorry, art and science overlap in music. It's music theory. It's very, very mathematic. It's very technical, extremely technical. You're right, and that itself is an expression of gevura. Even just talk about when you're composing a melody, Rabbi Nachman has a similar tire to this. You're selecting note by note from all the other notes. It's an incredible gevura. If you go over to a piano and you're trying to make a melody, you press 4 notes at the same time, unless they're like harmonic notes, it's not going to go. Like nothing, it's not helping anybody, right? When you select one at a time, Ashika, thanks for coming. When you select one note at a time, it's a gewaldige gevura, it's a selection, it's a tzimtzum. In a sense, you're selecting right now this note, and then that note, and then the next note. That's an inyan of gevura, and that would be the connection between gevura and shira as well, right? Or rina, more specifically. Okay, so he continues. We're on the second, we just turned over the page, on the second side. Nimtzai says, Shaharina hishira cheshefes es hapnimis hagnuza. Rina is this incredible tool, this musical tool, that takes what we're feeling inside and reveals it, draws it out, brings it out, pushes it forth to the level of the kalim. V'zayis beside gevura, and this is the deep connection between gevura and rina. Like we said, the Levium, l'chein hi kshura ba'avoid rishayim. The pasuk says ba'avoid rishayim rina. Right? When the concept of rishos, of wickedness, the concealment of Hashem is wiped away from the earth, rina. What's the connection? Because again, the concept of rishos, is all on the level of chitzonius. It's just the appearance that we cannot see the revelation of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's what rishos is. But when the kalim are fixed, ba'avoid rishayim, and the ruach hatuma abrim min haaretz, so that like cloud that hovers over what could be seen as a world that reveals the presence of Hashem in the deepest possible way. When that goes away, what are we left with? Rina. Why Rina? Because that's the force of Rina. Rina fixes the kalim. The Levium are the musicians and the gatekeepers. They stand guard at the external perimeter to make sure that it's guarded. Right? That's the inyan of Rina. Avoid rishayim Rina. V'hine naskil v'navin. So then what does this mean? What does it mean in Anabekayach, the second stanza, the stanza of Gevura Dafka? When we say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Master of heaven and earth, Kabel, Rinnas, Amcha, accept the song of your nation. What does it mean? So listen to this, Mamish, such a beautiful paragraph.
Sorry, who is this from?
This is from a tzaddik called Rav Reuven Sasson. A Heintiger, lives in Eretz Yisrael. So he says like this, Sheharina hi gilui hapnimius. Rina, like we said, reveals the internality, the interiority of the Jew. V'ahainu, what that means is Shebavadai pnimius Yisrael kula kodesh bli shum mum upgam. The pnimius of Yisrael, and it's deeper than just like, oh, you're so holy, you're so pure. Like all of us, that's true. It's beyond that. It's that the Knesset Yisrael, the collectivity of Am Yisrael, that place is bli pagam, bli mum kula yafech rayasi. I think he's going to bring a pasuk. Yes, kulach yafa rayasi mum ein bach. That place is completely kadosh v'tar. Rabbi Nachman says in Tar Zayin Tinyana that a Jew and a sin, you've never seen two things that are more removed from each other. Be'etzem in Pnimius. They have nothing to do with each other. Rachik harbe me'avain. When that soul comes into particular individual bodies, can get a little bit, the vessel can get a little bit dirty. But the water that the vessel is containing is a part of that collective soul. Kulach yafe rayasi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says about that collective soul, also called the Shechina, which dwells down in this world within us. Umum ein bach, there's no mum in that place. Hakol toyhar v'kodesh b'li shum sig. Everything there is pure and holy, b'li shum sig. And this is our essence beyond anything else. And if you haven't found this within yourself, look deeper. Just look deeper. Because you haven't tapped into that level of your soul yet. Because at that level of your soul, it's not your soul. It's our soul. And so all the while that a person's saying, listen, did cheshbon hanefesh, I'm trying, but I'm telling you, I am the worst of the worst. You say, yeah, but you're still talking about you. So on that level, you could say, I am. But there's a level beyond that where you are not you anymore. You are me. You are we. You are we. And in that place, kulach yafa rayasi umum ein bach. Hakol toyer v'kodesh b'li shum sig. The hasigim, so where are the sigim, like we said? Where is the blemishes, the dust, the dirt? That's only on the external level. And if you think about it, the embodiment of this collective soul within the world, in the form of individual bodies, is already the site of Pnimius verse, so to speak, Chitzonius. This is how that collective soul manifests. These are the kalim. The kalim is called the guf of each of us. So in that place, on the chitzonius, the individual theoretically could have some kind of pgam, some kind of blemish, some kind of bayot, some kind of problems. Could be. But it's only in the place of the chitzonius. V'hine ra'inu we see sha'ashira va'arina he'misod agilu shalapnimius b'chitzonius. Like we said, the whole midah of gevura connected to the element of fire, to the levium, is to bring that which is inside. It brings it bubbling up to the surface. It's the tikkun of the kalim, like we had learned in the first shiur in this particular inyan of Anabekayach from the Zohar Kadosh. Ein adinim nimtakim ela b'shayrashim. The judgments can only be sweetened where? At their source. And so, like we already said, the very same midah, gevura, which brought this whole world into existence, which has the possibility of becoming sullied and dirty in that place of concealment of Hashem, therein lies the fixing. Because that very midah is always at work to bring out the pnimius that's hidden by chitzonius, to allow it to manifest on that level of chitzonius, on that level of kalim again. That's what song does. The Yisoida Inyan Shehu. See, he says, what is the essence of this matter? What do we mean? Shikashara Adam Shar Umisayr Bezimra Viranana. When a person sings, and a person is inspired in this melodic, melodious, beautiful way, Hima Amatzas Pnimiyusai Uma Ayrara Latses Elapoyal. What we're doing is we are intensifying our perception of our inwardness, of our pnimius, of that place of collectivity, like we said, that manifests in each of us personally, individually. And we're awakening it, to begin to slowly but surely manifest, to become revealed. And that slowly but surely, through the tool, through the kli of shira, of Rinnas, it's drawing it out and it's allowing it to be revealed. He says this is super, super simple. Like, it's not an abstract concept. It's completely pragmatic and practical. We see with our own eyes. It has a real effect on people. It really does. It mamish does. Somehow 1,000 Torahs doesn't touch a person. They hear one melody that mamish, it catches them at the right moment, in the right setting, in the right way, and sometimes even catches them off guard. They feel something. They don't know what they feel. That's the gevura of Renana, of song. It awakens from inside of them this holiness, hapnimis, this inward holiness, and causes that inner kedusha to come out, to become revealed. Sheshire kodesh, that holy nagunim, which is also in and of itself, what that means. Holy nagunim, ma'orin l'tshuva, can bring a person to thoughts of return. V'hiskabras or etzonis hatoivim, and it can become the vehicle to allow for the expression of really holy yearning. What does it mean, yearning? Yearning is gevura. Yearning is mamish gevura. The want to be, the desire to be, that's the force that's compelling everything toward tshuva. That's the energy, without getting into that, he mentioned it, of bina, which is tshuva. Pushing us back to the kisei hakavod. Gedola tshuva shemagas at kisei hakavod, like we learned in the previous year.
Isn't that kind of opposite the idea of the first verse of Amcha, that we learned that the Baruch should break the kalim with Ras Mincha.
Ibn Hashem Oisechayel.
Yeah, so now we're saying the opposite. We're saying that the Gevurah already is the thing that breaks out of the kalim. So
not necessarily that breaks out of the kalim, that rectifies the kalim, in the sense that the pagam of the kalim is that it covers over the pnimius. Now we're saying, enechanami, there are kalim, right? The first thing we come out of the gate is unten stark with the midah of chesed. We say, Rosh Hashanah, let's do away with kalim. And then a little bit in the next stanza, which is itself the midah of gevura, a little bit we come back to the reality, so to speak, our current reality, that there are kalim, and that the problem with those kalim is not that there are kalim, because if there weren't kalim, we wouldn't even be here, b'chlal. Meaning, we come back to our humanity, right? And in that place we say, well, what's the problem with the kalim? That the kalim are mastir. that there's a pneumius, there's an inside, and the kalim are too thick, the kalim conceal. Ribbana Shalom, can you saturate the level of the kli with the R of the pneumius? That's what we're davening here. We're gonna learn more about this. Let's take this step by step.
The first one we're focusing more on like the kind of the shroud, the second one we're focusing on Amcha.
In a sense, right. The first thing we're davening for like something supernatural, mima'al teva, which is the midah of chesed. Pasuk says ki agdol me'al shamayim chazdecha, just from beyond. And then in the second stanza we're talking more about our Rinnas Amcha. Beautiful. Amcha daika. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so he says this is it. This is the energy. V'hu mekoyach pu'ulasam. Right, u'ma'orin l'smoyach ba'Hashem, and cause us to rejoice in Hashem. V'lecheshek hakodesh v'advekas v'atara v'oid, like all this incredible stuff. To long for holiness, to want to be better, to want to be bigger, to want to live more simple, more pashut, more clear. V'atahara, to attain purity and more. V'hu mikoyach pu'ulasam ha'atzam ha'choder ala pnimius ha'tahira u'ma'oroi sa latzes chutza. That's what it causes. Nimtza, we find shaharina hi kli nifla. Rina is this incredible keli legalois as rigshay atar va'akodesh haginuzim pnima, which, like we learned, is the midah of gevura, to take what's hidden inside, push it to the outside. Then he says, "V'hinei sod harina ramas gamba b'dikas cham." So I'm going to go through a little bit more quickly. So I would like to finish within the time allotted to our shiur. He says this shows up in a crazy way, in an amazing, beautiful way. B'dikas chametz. Kalashon Mishnah b'tchilas Maseches Pesachim. Very famous. The Mishnah begins, Ar la'aba asar bait kenas hachametz la'ar haner. Ar la'aba asar, the eve of the 14th of Nisan, we search for the chametz la'ar haner with the light of the candle. V'darsh b'tikunei zayar. And the Heilige Tikkun Ezar, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai darshan she'ein haner. This word haner is actually a reference ela Rina, because it's the same letters of Rina of song. Listen to this. B'soid ba'avoid rishaim Rina. Like we said, the pasuk from Mishlei, when all the rishos, which is the bechin of chametz that you're searching for, where's the chametz? It's not hidden under your floorboard, right? Adarabba, something that's so hidden in a place where you don't bring the chametz, you don't have to check, right? And aji yada magas and a gal, right? The klavim and so on. It's dafka. It's on the layer of the chitzonius. That's where the chametz is. But avoid rishaim rina, the energy that cleans the house, so to speak, is the inyan of the chutz. The external level of your living space is ar haner, which is the ar of rina. But avoid risham is the bechina b'dikas chametz. What are we left with? Rina. Ar haner. Take a look at the footnote, which I included because I wanted to learn it. Take a look at Lamed Dalet. It's very, very deep. V'soidei hu ner ba'haisafas hey. He says, what is the word haner? Is the word ner, which is the flame, a candle, with the addition of the letter hey. And like we learned in previous year, and what's the letter hey? Shehei hu alma de isgalia. The hey, over here he's seeing it as a reference to the last hey of Yud Kei Vav Kei, is the world of Asiya, is the world of Chitzonius, is the world of the physicality that we experience. Umamshich ar ner, and what we're doing is we're drawing out the incredible internal spiritual energy of ner, which he says is Rosh Hashanah nefesh and ruach, right? Which is mamish the spirit. Beroivan hagili. That's what the inyan of it's gaval. That's what the inyan of rina is, which is haner, is to take what's hidden inside nefesh ruach and bring it out to the hay, which is the alma diskalia. Pile plies, huh? Not necessarily with the chirik underneath. It could be, it could not be. That's a very deep thing. That's ner yudke. That's maybe even deeper. But he's stuck with or haner, and that doesn't have a yud. So, okay. But al yedei kach nasa rina, and that makes rina nefesh ruach, and then the hay of the alma diskalia, which in and of itself encapsulates the energy of rina and ner, which is a flame, which is gevura. So it's mamash all one, which is b'dikas chametz, which is ba'avoid rishaim, rina. Umizgala memela shefa pnimius, and it reveals the shefa pnimius, which is of course matzah. And this, he says, it's incredible. You take these same letters, you scramble them another time. What are you left with? The word nahar. Where do we find the word nahar first in the Torah? The pasuk right in the beginning of Bereshis, v'nahar yotzei me'eden lahashkes es a gan. And it should seem obvious, all the Svarim say, Eden is the world of Pneumius. That's the place where there's the source of Shefa. And the Nahar, what's the site of the Nahar, which is the site of Haner, which is the site of Rinnas, is Yotzei me Eden, is to bring all that Pneumius from Eden, lahashkes es a gan, to saturate the external realm. So Nahar, Haner, and Rinnas, it's all the same concept, bound together.
Nahara means light.
And Nahara means light, Gewalt. Beautiful, beautiful. Probably even etymologically for that reason, because it flows. Because it flows. Yeah, Gewalt. The Nar Yotzei me Eden lahashkes es a gan. It's Gewalt.
Because you normally associate like Nahar and river with Chesed because it's
Also interesting, right. That is very interesting. I have to think about that. That's like the combination between Chesed and Gevura in some strange way. It's like a pulling and a pushing. It's a shakla v'tarya. It's very, very deep, very deep. It's all one. The pushing and the pulling. It is a very deep idea. And there's a Likutei Halachos I'm thinking about the shaykh to this. Yeah, very, very deep. Very, very deep. Gewalt. Okay. So let's go a little bit further. Now he just speaks out. We just spoke it out, but now he writes it. Chametz is the bechina of Risha'im. When we're trying to get rid of their existence. Or haner hakadosh. Ner Hashem nishmas adam chayfes kol chadrei baten. The Gemara in Pesach in the beginning actually relates to the concept of bedikas chametz. Ner Hashem no, not at the beginning. In the beginning of the 10th parak. In the beginning of Arvei Pesachim, right? Ner Hashem nishmas adam. That's our neshama. That's chayfes kol chadrei batan. That's seeking all the houses. That's what bedikas chametz is. It's the revelation of what's inside. Inside, it's already clean. That's the sight of it. It's not that you're coming to take something that's dirty and make it clean. No, it's always revealing what already is. You're revealing the cleanliness. You hear this? There's two ways of thinking about what bedikas chametz is. Either you're taking a dirty place and making it clean, or you recognize that it was always clean. And what you're doing is you're removing that which is obscuring the cleanliness. Two completely different ways of thinking about bedikas chametz. It's a gewalt. Do you hear this? Because you don't make it clean. It is clean. The chametz is an external layer of dust. Which is why we clean everything we have. He says dafka halachically cannot be with a torch, and the Gemara gives its reasons, but it should be with a ner dafka. It's got to be with a candle. Beside hu gilui nitzatz kal v'zeir shel kedushas Yisrael. He says, you know why we don't want to use the whole torch? Because the whole torch, which is going to be a remez to the collective soul of the Jewish nation, it's not a chiddush. That we know is so incredibly holy. Okay, so a torch could get all the chametz away. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to teach us, that you could do bedikas chametz with just one ner, which is connected to ner elokim nishmas adam, it's just the individual ner, is that with one tiny little spark of the revelation of the kedusha that we have inside, that's all you need. Just one tiny little spark. Lahira is to teach. There's so much darkness that settles down into our lives, and all the challenges and all the thick filth that we're fighting against and smothered by. Which we were in Mitzrayim, which is Pesach. Even though we're stuck in the Mem Teshari Tumah, just like in those days. Just one tiny spark, even though quantitatively it doesn't stand up to all the thousands of loaves of bread that are covering over the quote-unquote cleanliness. Just one little spark. Qualitatively, that one spark, that's mamish all we need. You come into bedikas chametz night, you could already start achanas now, not that far off, before you know it. It's Pesach again. What's the kavanah? Ribbon Hashem, all you need is just one little glimmer of that stormy fire, that firestorm of Kedusha that I have inside of me. Kach, haner v'harina. See, he puts a chiruk under the reish. Over here, haner v'harina. Oisa pe'eles pe'alim.
He sends the question.
Yeah, I guess. Right, oisa pe'eles pe'alim, right? It does its thing. Megalim v'choshvim nekuda ichutit Achas, just one nekuda echutis, which is what? Which is a qualitative spark. Zikatz musi shel kedushas haneshama, just one really essential drop of kedushas haneshama. Habali de bito v'chitzonius. Comes to expression on the external layer. Zeberina v'zebener. Both through Rina, here he does put a yud, and through the concept of the ner, ushneim ke'echad mechalenes hara. How gewalt is it if you do b'dikas chametz with a little bit of nigina. Also, you walk around, you hum a niggin. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. Very holy thing. Mavrichin es hamekatrik, gets rid of all the accusatory forces. Umoitziim es Yisrael mikol meitzar. And it brings us out of our meitzarim, l'segev l'taher es Yisrael, to purify, to lift us up, to purify us, b'yimei ha'aymer, right? Which is the days of the aymer, ad loy fas, or kodesh kadashim nar v'niska b'matan Torah. This is the beginning. And so, b'dikas chametz, just, okay, a little spark becomes revealed, and then you have something to work with, and then we work through the days of Sefira, up until Shavuos. See, he puts it into this little stanza of Ana B'Kach. He says, Kabel Rinnas Amcha is bepesach. That's just b'dikas chametz night. Beside Ar Haner, the Rina, or beside Reishis Tevas Kuf Reish Ayin, Kavalt, which is Kabel Rinnas Amcha. He says Harimsim l'Kriyas Yamsuf. Kuf Reish Ayin is the Kriya of Kriyas Yamsuf. He says that's how everything starts. Just Kabel Rinnas Amcha. Umisham Kavalt. We say Rebbeinu Shalom Sagvenu Tarenu. That's b'mei ha'aymer. Once we've revealed just a little tiny spark, so then now we're going to go through the days of the aymer, lift us up, purify us, tikkun amidas. That growing sense of Tara after what's been revealed, B'dikas Chametz night, until what? Adagila Elyon, which takes place on Har Sinai. Soid Manoira Hamakim Hazeh. What a wondrous place, even though that was the Harabais. I see it's already thinking. Noira, here it says a reference to Har Sinai. Also an awesome place. Yeah. All right, okay. Also, right? Haifa Satiferes Elyon B'matan Torah. And that's his pshat. Okay, so now let's get, just the last few minutes, let's get into the second half of the stanza. So all of this is Kabel Rinnas Amcha. Friday night, no matter what happened to you during the week, and no matter how much we've strayed, and no matter how confused we feel, and no matter how downtrodden we schlep ourselves into shul, we stand there after the first just boundary-shattering light of Ana B'Koyach Gedulas Mincha, Tatir Tzurura, that's the first stanza of Chesed. Then we say, Ribbana Shalom, we're about to sing L'Chadaydi. About to mamish sing L'Chadaydi. Allow the Negina de Kedusha, this holy atmosphere, to wake up that place inside of me that's already awake. That even though Ani Yeshena on the outside level, but there's a place inside of a Libi air. Let the Ani, that outside layer, begin to share in that wakefulness. Draw it out to the surface. V'nahar yoytze me'eden lahashkos esagan. Lahashkos esagan.
During the week, like when we say the bonus, it's more like it's a different kind of tefillah as it would be. So it's also the Hoidel Hashem or whatever it is that comes up.
Sukkah de Zimra. It's the same concept.
Yeah,
or about the same.
Right?
So
I would say it's a similar Indian.
It's a deeper level.
always at the end of something that is halal.
That's right.
At the end of Korbanos, that's when we say Anuchaya.
Right?
It's to
Hala. That's right. The Shem Membeis. The Shem of Gevurah. Right. Okay, so now.
And during Sefira.
What's that? During Sefira. You should know that, which is exactly the time for this, right? Like he says, because it's to take that spark of B'dikas Chametz and to turn it into a great fire, which is maybe the site of the fire, right? Har Bar Be'esh, right? Which is maybe the Eish of all the collective B'dikas Chametz is Ner L'kim Nishmas Adam coming together. He has in this Sefer at the end a whole section just on Sfiras Aimer, going through each day of Sfira, connected one of the letters. Very, very amazing. Okay, let's take a look back in this piece, back to Rav Kook over here. Amnam, he says, Yesh she'izbates hisba'ata hachitzoynes hayotzis b'koyach. He says it could be, crazily enough, that when there is this kind of expression of this internal layer that bursts forth to saturate the external layer, Garemes, it could cause, he says, after we experience such a moment, which just like bursts out and demonstrates the inner gvur that we have, pnim el achutz, to take it, what's inside and to bring it outside as karnei oyer, to shine a light. He says, unfortunately, what that can cause is tachush chalisha shuv b'pnimiyusa. We can feel after such a high, sometimes comes a lull, right? Sometimes comes a feeling of didn't last. And that leads to a feeling of total weakness. What was that? Was it real? Zeh chisaron echad. He says this is one chisaron shaharina tucha ligram, that this experience of rina, elevated as it is, a gevalt, to feel gevura, this light that's coming up and taking the pneumius and bringing it out to chitzonius is unbelievable. It can cause a chalishus. Shaharina tucha ligram im kol ma shehi mekadeshes umala b'shata es shall have a sakodesh hapnimis. Even though in the moment it's bringing out this incredible conflagration of holiness, but maybe it can cause a weakness afterwards. And he says further, kasher al yedei tzahala verina, right? It's tzahalas harina. After this, let's say a celebratory kind of joy, of simcha, of singing, of dancing. So the Zohar Kadosh already says, in making reference to this concept of Rina and Gvura, Renana Milavar, that Rina is connected to the outside. He says sometimes the Chitzainim could grab onto such an experience and intensify the concealment. It awakens the body a little bit, right? And that could lead to not such holy places. It can wake up the forces that are less pure sometimes. He says, therefore, because there are these two possibilities, that's why anytime we're going to speak about the potential of Rina, which is Gevura, to help us, we have to immediately invoke Yiras Shamayim. We have to immediately invoke Yiras Shamayim to say, Rabbi Shalom, I want to do this with all of me, but within Gedar, within a state of Kedusha that's Mugdar. Not that something should be woken up inside of me and it looks good in the beginning and then where does it lead? And Chas v'Shalom, not that afterwards we should feel a chalishas. That I'm not sure if it was real or not. I want to do this with a sense of awareness of you. Hamagbelas es hakoiches, yira that keeps things in check. Umetaheres es haruach mikol sigim, which will purify this energy from all of its dregs, from all of the negative forces. Utchunas hagvura sheba meisifa oimetz nister pnimi, and it will give me courage. A lot of people think Yiras Shamayim, makes a person a pachdan, and a person walks over, bent over. Yira is, like we said, it's gevura, it's oimetz, it's courage. To live a life of yira, meaning it doesn't to live a life of fear. It means to live a life of awareness. And that awareness holds tremendous treasure houses of confidence. What are you aware of? That there's a purpose to life, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is pumping you with energy to do something in your life, and that you're doing something in your life, and that every little battle and every little choice and every little struggle is eternal. V'chule, v'chule. Yiras Shamayim, it's a tremendous hiskabra. Not to push you down, to lift you up. Mamish lift you up. So he says that's what the Yira can do. Moisifa oimetz. It adds confidence. Nister pnimi. A very hidden kind of confidence, of courage. Lahaisiv siguv ugvuras hoid b'ma'amake kol neshama. To add on a spirit of elevation, ugvuras hoid, and this mighty kind of splendor b'ma'amake kol neshama, in the internal hidden places of every soul. And therefore, after making reference to Rina, Kabel, Rinnas, Amcha, these little moments of expression, the B'dikas Chametz La'ar HaNer, Ner Elikim Nishmas Adam Hashem Kabel, take that, recognize that for what it is, that it's enough to do B'dikas Chametz with that, which is why the Rosh Tevis of this particular stanza is the most intelligible one, Kara Satan, Kof Reish Ayin, Sin, Tes Nun, which is the Indian that even just a little spark is enough to be machal, enough to get away all the klipas. Hashem, accept that, take that from us. So when we conjure that concept, so then right away, B'tzirv, we need to say, B'tzirv ha'ashpa klolish al knesses Yisrael al kol havaya, that there's going to be the revelation of this incredible soul throughout existence, al kol ha'yukum v'kol ha'olam ha'skulam, that spirit should be revealed throughout existence, throughout all the worlds, which is Kabel Rinnas Amcha, V'gale betuvchas pnimius kedushas nishmasam. Hashem, we're davening that the pnimius should come to revelation on the level of the chitzonius through our rina, through our nahar, through our haner. Mitoch oisai fashal rinnas hakodesh. That's what we daven for in the beginning of the stanza. But right, with regard to that which is nogeya, to this force that's drawing al yada ha'ava hamiskaberes, this energy that's like coursing forth. But when we start to speak about the potential for other external forces to be awakened with this energy, right, that can come alongside this holy awakening, we daven sharak kedusha seyira pnimis trufa hamichedes, is that we understand that only Yira Shamayim, only that guidance, that clarity, that focus, that courage, that ometz, that strength can guard that. So I know I'm b'shvulkach. So therefore, after we say kabel rinnas amcha, what do we then say? Sagvenu, which is Yira Shamayim, that it give us confidence that we should be able to be like the Leviim, who were the musicians, but also Shomer HaPesach, to be able to guard what comes in, what comes out. Sagvenu, like v'niskav, to bring up, which Rav Kook is saying, that's what Yira Shamayim should do to us, not to push us down. Sagvenu, taharenu, that we can mamish become pure, and we make reference to Naira, which is of course the name of Yira. By understanding that Yira Shamayim, that's what's going to give us what we need. So we're not going to read the last paragraph, because it's largely just a review of what we just said about Sagvenu, Taharenu, Naira. But this is the way that we have Kavana in the second stanza of Anabakoyach, which is the stanza of Gevura, that the way to be Korea the Satan, by the way, parenthetically, I'll just throw out there, very, very interesting skula that a friend of mine told me he saw in a sefer. I don't know where the source is, but I can tell you personally, it works. It mamash works, and it's something I use frequently. If a person has a Yitzhahara, a strong hiskabris to do something, to look somewhere, and so on, a skula, to envision the letters Kuf Resh Ayin Kara Satan Sin Tes Nun, that under each of the letters is the Nakuda of the Shva, which is two dots, one on top of the other, under each of them. You can't pronounce the word that way, obviously. It's because the Nakuda, by the way, that getting into it, is the Nakuda of Gevura. All the Nakudas are also split up by the Midas. And the Shva is the Midah of Gevura. Why? Because Shva means to stop. That's Gevura. So when you have in mind that energy under all the letters Kara Satan, Pile Plus. It's like a strange thing. It's a good tool to have in your toolbox. Have this in mind, and it's a very, very big school.
Is it fair to say that what we saw over the Olasriya is basically saying that Yira Shamayim isn't so much fears of mistranslation, it's more responsibility.
Oh yeah.
It's the
that comes. It's the empowerment. It's the empowerment that comes by recognizing I have a responsibility, so that means that I really matter, right? And in that sense, Yira means, wow, I recognize that I and only I have the ability, b'siyata d'shmaya, to guard. And that's what Hashem sent me in the world to do. So that's what Yira Shamayim is.
Yira Shamayim, in a way, gives you the kosher galva that you need to push forward.
I wouldn't call it galva, I would call it sagvein.
Yeah.
The niskav. Niskav. Vayigba liba b'darkei Hashem. Have a holy kind of confidence. Azus to kedusha. Holy kind of confidence, right? So that's our tefillah. Kabel Rinnas Amcha. We're about to sing L'chadaydi, not now, but tomorrow night. L'chadaydi, we're about to sing. Singing is Rina. Rina is the Leviim. Midav Gevura, to bring the Pnimius out to the Chitzonius. And that should be enough. B'dikas Chametz, La'ar Haner is Rina, is Nar Yotzei Eidin Lahashkes, is Hagan, to clean all the Chametz. Ba'avoid Risham Rina. And Rebbeinu Shalom, let that be just enough of a revelation to get all the Satan away, to clear the clouds of the 6 days of the week. Should mamish be Shabbos Kodesh. And then because that's being revealed, we say, so then Sagvenu. I shouldn't feel weakness after this high moment. Let it be real. Let it stay. Taharenu. And with that, let me embark on a journey of Tahara, with this confidence, with this empowerment. Noira. All in the schus of this midah of Yiras Shamayim. Let's just read it in the chart so you have it, and then we'll wrap it up, and then we'll taka sing. This is Hashem. Kabel Rinnas Amcha. Hashem, please accept the revelation of your nation's holiness that emerges in moments of song. Brief glimpses of yearning compelled to the surface by the energy of Gevura. Sagvenu, let us channel this feeling on a more consistent basis. It should stay. Taharenu, the site of Tara. See, he says in that piece that we didn't learn, Leiv Tahar Birali Elikim. Leiv Tahar Birali Elikim, is that the pasuk that he uses? Yeah, right. Leiv Tahar Birali Daika Elikim. Elikim is the midah of Gevura. So we see that Tahara is connected to Gevura. Leiv Tahar Birali Elikim. Tahara. Right? Meaning to purify the external layer. Tahara. Taharenu, allow our inner purity to manifest on the external level of our being as well, Noira, all in the merit of our embodiment of the trait of Yiras Shamayim. And the Rosh Tevis, Kar HaSatan, even a momentary revelation of the Jew's holy essence is enough to destroy the forces of the Satan, which seek to prevent us from catching a glimpse of our neshamas. This is Mama Shabbos. This is what Shabbos gives us. Trudging through the week, it's like through a snowstorm. You're wet and tired and cold, and you come into Shabbos, and all we need is just a glimmer of a remembrance, of a recognition of who we are, what we are. Little spark. Should make use of it. Be boidik the chamas, not just Erev Pesach. Every Friday night. Sagavenu Tarenu Noira. Hashem should bless us with holy confidence. Be'ezus Hashem. Thank you so much.